Okay, heaven and earth of the book of Zohar. Rabbi Shimon opened and said, the beginning of the Creator of the heavens and earth, the verse should be examined carefully, for whoever claims that there is another Creator disappears from the world as it is written. He who claims that there is another Creator perishes both in earth and heaven, therefore there is no Creator but the Almighty. For the book of Zohar continues discussing the correction of the bride. It starts the first sentence of the Torah, in the beginning with the Creator of the created, the roof, with the root and source of all correction for the bride during 6,000 years. Man, entire correction occurs only through her union with the on and reception beyond her properties in the verse of the beginning of the Creator created, the greater God signifying beyond. This means that He created the world by the property of beyond for the purpose of the correction. The greater God contains the who's beyond and the God of man, that constant union between who and God, the world can exist. Me and God, you and God can exist. World can exist. The greater beyond of the greater God is the result of the light of wisdom, clothing the light of wit and mercy. At the union of who and of God, and God with the property of beyond is through the correction of the world as it is able to exist. The union of who and the God does not permit the existence of others for an egotistic force for the parts of heaven. This is called so-called other gods containing sustaining world, separating who and God do not clothe the light of pleasure or hokmah, an altruistic intention for the Creator's sake, hasamah for the Creator's sake, for the lead of the pleasure departs from the spiritual world, leaving God, therefore forbidding the belief that the man governed by any of the forces beside the Creator, for instead of the existence, reception of the light of life. Such belief brings the world of man only ruin and disappearance for his light. 152. With the expression of the God is every written with the Aramaic. This is the call of the transaction. As he asked, however, you should suggest that because of the holy angels do not understand translation Aramaic language, everything should have been said in the Jew. Holy angels would hear and be grateful for it. He replies excellently why it is written in the translation Aramaic. The holy angels neither had hear nor understand, hence know it not to invade, which would be detrimental to the latter. For in this case, the holy angels are called creators, and they are included with the group of creators, but they are not they have not created heaven and earth. The Aramaic referred to the translation very close to the holy language of the Hebrew, but angels neither need nor know nothing less. You need not know. You that know need other languages of other nations of the world. It is because the translation of the holy language is called the reverse side, or the body of without Genesis. Sephiroth. In other words, the altruistic language, which hence holy is a reverse preliminary stage, hence called translation Aramaic language. No other language in the world Aramaic can act as a translation from holy language. All other languages in the translation would egotistically desire egotistic unrelated altruism. They are not with holy language. They're not with regard to the holy language. Therefore, translation truly clothed with the holy language. However, there is one distinction. One of the ends within the necessary the angel of the holy language is the scale pointer that shows the balance between right and left scale, whether the point moves from between the two scales and delivers the judgment toward the scale of the scale of reward for merits toward the scale of the punishment for sins. It brings everything back to the state of correction, to the purity and holiness, hence called the holy language. Introduction to the study of the tenets of thoughts. As written in the item 16, heaven and earth and all inhabitants were created by who and man, written by what and how, and glorious your name is in all the earth and what you have said above the heavens. Indeed, heavens was created by the property of man, whereas the heaven mentioned all beyond alludes all to beyond called what, but also explains by the greater God of God. The greater God is revealed by the heaven and earth, which were created by the power of what, by who, and by attaching letters alleluia, or attaching the word gods of the Father beyond, with the help of the man, and with the help of praise of the good deeds to the lower ones. Therefore, the light of the Genesis heaven, or the light of wisdom of the greater God is consistent neither in heaven beyond nor on earth. Typically, only the greater only Genesis is present with the parts of the heaven of the world with the Asphals, whereas the HP is below the parts of the world of beyond. So, still don't know what beyond means. The zone of themselves unwillingly receive the light of wisdom unless passed with the parts of the soul of the righteous, the world beyond. Lower one's righteous exists spiritually, but the world of the beyond and the real that such as Sephiroth and the beginning raise the praise of below the world from their face of beyond to the men of Alphabet and what turns into whom, who turns into what letters of God from who. From with what? Together to create a greater God with the light of heaven and earth. However, the lower ones corrupt the deeds from the sinking into egotistic contentions. Light disappears in the level of Sephiroth, the Keter and Hesad. Light of Roshan Nefesh, or called who and what the letters of God fall in the impure forces of who, and the genesis of N-L. God is Sephiroth. Therefore, entire correction depends exclusively on attaching letters of the God to the who, and with the help of the praise. Hence, the correction is the holy language in the scale pointer that determines the balance between egotistic desires, altruistic intrusions of the perception of the Creator's sake. This is the scale pointer of the middle. By means of such interaction, property of they will receive the will to receive and the will to bestow. One can achieve the perception of the light of wisdom for the Creator's sake. The light is holy and passive, the holy name of the greater God of earth, that is beyond with to heaven's earth, transferring the name God to the pure holy side of the scale of merit. This is why Hebrews words for scale is from the word awazin. The light of Azwin Hotum P is named according to the highest light of the light of Azin of the Shifra Beyond and Or Nasham. The language translates and called the Targon opposite with the language of the Mazanium scales. It also becomes lower one that does not raise the praise, does not harbor pure intention to define the aspiration to the desire received, designated with the letters of God, which do not aspire to the unit desire property, but still letters of who beyond, of what beyond as is, and a result of Oswin Hotum P.A. of God called who in descending the heaven of the earth and God or return to the sake of the body. Such state is called the language of Targon. The geometry of the word tardium or sleep matches the word targum. The Hebrew word for targum is spelled with the same letters in the word turdum of who, which means descending of who for the spiritual and pure language. The Aswam Aswin Hotum Pe, and of who designated the world of Tardam, who becomes revealed and later at least it leads to descent from the scale of merit with the scale of punishment, which happens in the state of Galantica and Enema. However, all this refers to the earth's heaven, to the heaven and earth created with the who and what desires reception. This is because they have emerged result with the marriage of the Usad from the who. The holy angels are merged for the marriage of the woman, or kissing the God, marriage of the scene, which have what to not, but who, one only intrinsic bestow properties of female beyond, and permanently exist in the state of the body without the genesis surfat and without the light of wisdom. On the other hand, the body of the light of mercy of who, mother of beyond, or light of wisdom of beyond, important with the genesis Sephiroth, the fall of desire with the perfect sensation, does the Genesis to point with the rejected light of wisdom, just because the woman or the holiness in them, hence the Genesis is also called Sephiroth is also called holy as well. There are two reasons why angels don't respond to the language of Targum, or which was sleep. Angels don't respond to language of sleep, which is who in the God earth returns the God to the state of the body. Even the God are in the state of the Genesis due to the reference for the holy language. Angels do not receive Hokmah or the wisdom from. It's just like the woman that went only with light of this mercy. The additional archaeum does not apply to angels whatsoever. The lack of the properties of who, henceforth, does not have the holy angels have absolute need for the translation. Do not listen to it. They do not need it because there is less than loose anything in the present nor anything with an absence constitute property of the body. Lack of the property of who. And they shall not envy man. The sentence refers to primarily the damnation of other gods' forms and the prevention of man from revealing Genesis light of wisdom. As a result, Lucis light enter the God for the angels do not have properties of the God Genesis of that light. Genesis of wisdom, but only Genesis of mercy. Thus they feel ashamed of their descent to such a low degree, even us for considering others' significance. Alright, the Zohar says in this case that even the holy angels are creators, but they have not created heaven and earth and are called creators, Elkalam, or greater forces, because they come from Em or Elkalam, Em beyond, or mothers beyond, called a greater God. This is a single of the general greater God, but they have not created heaven and earth. They cannot uphold existence in heaven and earth and a greater God of wisdom. However, the heaven and earth, the correction of the world to the ultimate merging with the correct creator, cannot exist unless they settle there. Man consists of the egotistic, altruistic desires, sows and reaps, corrects the egotistic desires, and uniting with the properties beyond existence be possible. The only light of the genesis of wisdom, or the reception of wisdom for the creator's sake. Hence, the angels does not create heaven and earth. He asks earth as called the Arca, what is read as Era. The answer is because the Arca is one of the seven lands below, with where the sons of Cain's sons reside. And indeed, after being banished from the face of the earth, they descend there beyond their generations. Wisdom becomes so lost that all understanding was lost, and the double land consisting of darkness and light. Even the seven Sephiroths contain the property of the other six. Those are each one of them comes from Sephiroth. In other words, man too has seven Sephiroths. Lower the world contains all the seven lands, as well as called Erzva, Adama, Arca, Gia, Nashi, Titia, and Tevel. Our land is called Tevel. This is the highest of the seven lands. Archaea is the third of the seven lands. The soul of Cain able to descend from the world of greater gods, but due to the impurity of Eve and Adam's wife received from the serpent of the soul of Cain, emerging first with the letters of God, followed by the soul of Abel, which emerged with the letters Who. The two greater gods, to the two spiritual worlds were meant to unite and incorporate these properties in one another, which would make them greater God shine both of them, and who is permanently present in God. However, the impure force merged together with the Cain souls and incited against his brother, who of the world greater God, to the point that he rose up against Abel, and who is in greater God, and slew him. This because of the disappearance of the property of who's beyond greater God is tantamount to murder. Without the support of the property of who's Cain's own property, he fell into the impure forces of the spiritual level of the Holy Land, the impure place of the egotistic desires. As he lost descent, the spiritual world filled with light because of the rule of the impure disappearance within the screen. Thus, the holy language within them substituted translation for a lad lost the wisdom of light of wisdom after the impure force, the lack of wisdom, as heaven and light of the without dot. The slaying of the able existing light of the parts of it occurred with who formed the greater God who formed heaven exclusively with the power of the praise raised by the pure thoughts of the righteous of the worlds beyond. They were preparing to a God that their world, a greater God, became complete with a heaven as if they view them as is they seen. Man ends just like the heaven, like mother, due to the replacing of the hay with the yod. However, that hay did not disappear for the who forever. Rather, it simply enters the in part of the man and hides their will to receive the fulfillment of the altruistic actions or light of wisdom. Hence, it is the egotistic operation, temporarily unfelt as they conceal in it, or wisdom, meaning with the letter of yod with the who. This is why the Creator's holy name, greater God, is also found in heaven and earth. However, the Cain raised man does not holiness and purity, but wish to achieve the letter greater God will relate to him in his own pleasure. This is described as, and Cain rose up against Abel his brother, for he put himself above his brother to rule over Abel. However, the Hadad pay of Navak, and here to conceal the letters Ham and who immediately revealed the world of who disappeared with the man. Hence, the Abel's son said, with stems of who of Navak, or who will fill the parts of the light and consider the soul. Seconds disappear as well as described. Ascendance and disappears as well as described in the world that slew him, and the light exists from the parts of rather to as death. This is why the Zohar describes the process the following way: the serpent and impure forces was with Cain, and hence he washed the strength letters of God, and who governed them. This was why they revealed that as when helper Hadad pay or Navak, or who and what disappeared from the Navak when Abel's soul was descended from who, from what disappeared as well as and slew him. Cain himself, God, a greater God, fell. Cain himself, God, fell under the rule of the impure forces called the Erica, Erza, and Nod. It written in the Torah, he settled in the land of Nod. Zohar calls the double land of one that contains both light and darkness. This is because light and darkness mix and act together, and the two rulers in the land will divide power equally between them. One ruler is with darkness, the other over the light. Hence, it states the unable to separate the light and darkness only from above. Descending light reason enables one to tell between the ruler and the Lord of darkness. 154, and therefore the two rulers, therefore one of the rulers of darkness, one over the light, that becomes hostile to each other. The Cain's descendants, they join together to become complete. As they saw that they were Cain's descendants, therefore the two heads are like two serpents, except they will rule. For when ruler of light defends the other, the ruler of darkness. Hence, the entire light of darkness becomes one. We will read in review 14 with expound with the creation of the holy with greater God, but the first great God extends to join who for the form simply with the word light of mercy in itself, where holiness or light of wisdom cannot enter the soul without being clothed in the light of mercy. Hence it is concealed with the name of the greater God. This is why marriage takes place with who to receive the light of wisdom with light of mercy with the clothed and light of wisdom, thereby correcting the name a greater God with my bara el bara, and source of the greater wisdom, the clothed with the like wisdom, connecting with who the greater God, which brings the correction of the greater God, and who beyond from Genesis heaven looks and with the property of Hebrew altruism whenever the receive the light of wisdom, or that or Yeshada, who does receive the light of wisdom. Therefore, the letter of God beginning to ascend to who the first right of Zet and D mine or Yesva receive the light of wisdom, but currently concealed with the name Al Greater God, transpires in the second marriage of the garden's heaven of who and the look and altruistic desires provided with the greater God of armors, light of wisdom, for they bring or correction to the name of the greater God. Alright, since God lacks light of mercy, he deprived the light of wisdom and called the subject Cain. Not only did Cain fall with the raise of the praise to receive the who and Saddam, which received the greater light of wisdom to as they see they destroying the parts of other name to able the egotistic desire of the man of the asphalt was exposed with light despaired from part the spiritual object of Abel, signifying death, whereas Cain himself fell in the pure forces of God. These places of impure forces are called Araka. The two rulers exist there, emerging from the greater God, as in the Auschwitz Hadad Pew, or the man with the malice man is concealed, with the also Hadad Pew, and of who what is revealed, they can pass the light from perfect, pure, holy name of the greater God to the soul, and light wisdom of the God received by Yisat and her clothes, then clothes the wisdom, then clothes the mercy, and then the holy name of the greater God becomes revealed. However, since the impure forces cling to the Osman Hadad Plu, the force of the man of who and letters greater to the who, the letters greater what exist in a complete state when that no light of wisdom, mercy are present, and all light of wisdom over the greater God cannot clothe the letter and more mercy due to the lack of mercy of them what, or has the God are kept darkness. Or the male part is of impure God is as the Kelim is intended for the light of wisdom. However, there are no wisdom due to the lack of light of mercy of what. Hence, the kept in darkness devoid both of the wisdom and in mercy. Yet they are greater Kelim. They have been able to receive the light of mercy, then they would have been able to receive the light of wisdom within it too. The female part of the impure of the God stems from the Awez Pew D man what of the holy female, the soul of our mercy. However, the impure female is considerable injured of the basis of everyone's remoteness from the Creator, as she impersonates the holy man. Holy of holies, depending on the extent of the corruption, multitude, impure names, you can still retain light, a tiny light, since her male-parted God from Awid Hadad Pew of what, of the roots of Kalm, of the light of mercy. Alright, the male and female part of the impure of the God of our heaven, man of the impure forces, two rules of the Arka, which is, what is Arca? I can't remember what Arca is. Impure forces. Two rulers of the impure force. The male part rules over the darkness. The female part rules over the light. That is, there the complaint is each the complaint. They complain against each another, since they are opposite. The male complains because of the calm of the letters of God, which are empty of the light of wisdom. It hates the force of remoteness from the Creator. Forgery existing from calm of the female part with the impure forces prefers to remain in darkness. Female impure forces, however, who has a small light of mercy, does not aspire light of wisdom, let alone the darkness with her male part abides. Therefore, the complaint of the male part distance from it, and as the zohar, the two rules governing the male part are darkness other than female part over the light, the hostile towards each other. Male parts over the darkness, female rules light, and hence they hate slander, campaigning against each other, as since they are distanced, one another cannot explain the dominance incapable of causing any harm. However, the Cain has sinned and dropped the pure letters of God out of the soul, and pure forces of the impure forces of Arkra. His God was concealed from mercy and clothed in tiny little present of the impure forces that survives the small kelim of light of wisdom, and Cain's God, the light of the impure forces, bestowed light upon them just like pure light of mercy. As a result, the male part of God, the impure forces, to be made with the cut marriage with the female with clothed Cain's God, since he has since these are the impure forces as well help will help the marriage of the Cain father, descendants of the spark of the light of wisdom, remain letters of the God, which are not mixed with the male impure God of the soul of the God, which clothed in light of female of the impure forces. This is why the Zohar says that the Cain descends there, everything in the merge became complete with the sparks of the light of wisdom that remained with the Cain's God, that were clothed with the light of the female with the impure forces. Constantly here male impure forces wish to enjoy the sparks of the light of wisdom that their Cain's God. Hence there was a greater God. Hence there was a marriage spreading complete on one another, but everyone saw that their descendants of Cain and the marriage produced produced the descendants clothing the sparks of the light of wisdom, and the Cain's impure God. The sparks of the light of mercy of the Cain soul was revealed. Everyone saw that there were Cain's descendants born of the vile marriage. Therefore, two heads are like a serpent. They were born with a union of male and female parts, impure with God. They are initially opposite to another. Therefore, Cain descends for the two heads from two impure forces. One craves darkness, one of the desire to perceive the light of wisdom. Other craves light when the impure forces desires to impure women. The two serpents' heads correspond to the two animals that belong to the system of the pure forces of the bull and the eagle. However, the two heads exist on the male part with the dominant when the darkness rules. Indeed, the clothing of the light of the female, in order to enjoy the small sparks of the light of wisdom, the male part supports against it, and will dominance of the female, and will, if it wants to light her light. As a result, the descendants of the two heads first pull in one direction and second in another. The female of the impure forces does not need their male part whatsoever. Her male part exists in the darkness, cannot give her anything. Therefore, women dominates, prevails, and impurity leaves nothing of the property of the male. Consequently, Cain's two-head descendants became one head. The Zohar tells the ruler of light defeats the load of the darkness when the impure female, which has the light dominates, she defeats the male impure parts as well as the other male rulers. She defeats the male part fully, subduing it to a rule. They include themselves in light and darkness and become as one. Consequently, the rule of the male part, darkness, is included under the rule of female part, light, with the two heads become one. Alright, 155, these are two rulers called Aphra and Castamon, who resemble the holy angels of six wings. The one is an image of a bull, and the other has an image of the eagle. When they unite, they create an image of man. The male impure force for the Castamon, the world of causticity, the devastation, the darkness, the union fit a man's life. The impure female with the female part of the Aphra, or the word Aphra, the dust. So after dust and devastation, unfit for sowing, she is called in order to show that all through the containing lights and insufficient sowing, the seed and producing harvest to feed human beings. The Zohar also says that responsible for the holy angels and six wings of the six wings for the holy angels correspond with the letter Va in the name of God, in contrast with the own four wings of the impure force of the corresponds to the name ADNI, indicating the height of the pure force regarding the holy angels opposite them. The upper light is called the wine, with bringing joy with the Creator, and the human it begins with. However, the wine contains sigmal, or wine yeast. For the waste of the merchant, the foremost record of the world, where he is connected to the purity to the use. As the image of a man. However, the sends bringer to the people that harm that he assumes the image of the bull. This is why the bull is first of the four main types of wreckers. And Zohar tells the Castamon, the wrecker, and the image of the bull, indicating the base of all of the wreckers that are called the impure bull. It is the wine yeast of the supernal light of wisdom and the holy name of the greater God, the impure God. That the impure God of the correspond with the God that named the greater God, for the wine yeast and the yeast stand below it, but its sense of connected purity, that the image of the man of the light of wisdom, the name of the greater God, is the image and likeness of man, in which the image and likeness, the blessing with image and likeness of man, created greater God, man created image of and likeness. Right, yet when separated with the purity, alters them through the deterioration of the desire. Consequently, property of descending is displays benefit with these properties. The Arkra assembly of the image property of the bull, and is an Nabaka of Arkra for the property of the eagle, congruency with the goal and action, lend shore to fall out, to bring with the fall of human and souls under the power. Alright, hence the word Nesher of ultra derived from the word Neshra of fall, that the leaves fall from a tree, and fall just as the leaves fall from a tree. The role of the impure female is to seek out the people and bring them into the state of the night, darkness, through destruction of holy covenant. As a result, the people's soul depart from it. Therefore, the Lord tells us, and when they unite with them, the image of the man, the return of the unite purity existing for the wine yeast, that returning, assuming once more the image of man just before the descending of Arkra, and become wreckers. Or 156, when they have covered the darkness, they turn into serpent with two heads, and more like a serpent in the soar of the void of the bay than the greater of the sea. They approach with the chain of the Azia and Aziel. They rile and rose them, and keep them in the mountains of the darkness. Think of the greater wish to bring the justice upon them. I suggest the reader will try to comment on Zohar on his own without any help. Therefore, compare the misthought with the stated below. This one might understand Rabbi Shimon Yahad Shlag has done with this commentary prior to the appearance of the commentary of the book of the Ari and Zohar. There is no way to understand Kabbalah correctly. Only with a handful of people of the generation could climb up the spiritual ladder on their own. Now here, however, I assure that they're simply constantly reading even into the books and retelling the composition of greater calibus. Rabbi Ashalag, elder son, maybe my teacher Rabbi Barach Ashalag, one containing sessions with the Creator. I think that those who have already read the previous books realize that it is true, possibly. As the story already mentioned in Adam 54, the impure female dominates the man there with light, and the two heads become however, the darkness for the male part with the castamon dominates that they turn into the serpent of the two heads, and the male part is unable to annul the power of the female, needs to be clothed in their light, hence the serpent and two heads, they move like a serpent, aiming to bring harm. The property of the serpent and to tempt Eve to dine on the fruit of the tree of knowledge by power of the head of the impure female, the soar and the void, which was contained with the root of the impure force called the void, the greatest fall, as is written, descend up to heaven and then descend to the abyss. By the power of the impure male, the bathe in the great sea of the light of wisdom for impure forces of the impure forces. Therefore, Akara is the land of Nod, and constantly sways with the rule of the two heads that resides, and thereby keeping alternate between ascending with the great sea and descending into the void. The angels of Zah, Aziel are very exalted angels indeed. After they have fallen the heaven and earth into our world, the mountains in the darkness link the metal chain, and so grained with the power that they were helped into the Balaam, attaining the degree of the prophecy of the Britain which is written. See the Creator's presence. Badamore 24:4. Describe the falls open and eyes of the Azza, referred to as the falling, as well as the falling from heaven to earth. Azala is called the Azel is called who opens his eyes regarding the fall to earth, heaven falling to earth, and at whose creator through the darkness and with regard of the Balaam prophet the degree with it more sages have the following, therefore has not profited Israel of Moses, not in Israel, but there was one among the nations of the world that has the name of Balaam. So was the great prophetic degree. And the reason for the downfall of the heaven and the earth lies in the complaint against the man for the moment of its making. Yet there is many angels complaining and objecting. So why did the Creator just cast down only those two? The answer to the question can be found in the items of 416 to 425, chapter of Balak. In Zohar, briefly, it says that the desire to create Adam or man, since the Hebrew word for the man is Adam, they appeared in the Creator. He summoned the supernal angels and seated them before him, and told them his desire to create man. Angels repealed, "What is man? You're mindful of him, and meaningful property of this man you wish to create." He replied, "This man was similar to me, and his wisdom was surpassed to yours, and the human soul includes the angel. Human soul includes all angels' supernal degrees, as is the body includes all creators of the world. Therefore, at the moment of the creation of the man's soul, the Creator summoned the supernal angels so that they would pass with the property of force with the man's soul. If there is written, let us make man in our image likeness, meaning the man's likeness include all the properties of all the angels. The word image of the likeness and the way written in quotations of the tells image and likeness are not yet words and simply to describe likeness rather than constitute very meaning spiritual notions." Alright, but the angel's question should be interpreted as follows. What kind of the creature of the man? What is the nature of which should be the benefit of passing, including our properties in him? The Creator replied, "This man will be similar to me, but with wisdom will surpass yours." In other words, the Creator promised that the man will embrace all the qualities of the property of the Telzum, and he will be wiser than them. However, because of their connection with them, to him they will also benefit the greater attainments and acquire everything that they presently lack. This is because the human soul includes all the spiritual grace, all the utmost property of all of the angels, and just about all his body includes all the materials and creator of the world with all the other properties. So the creator wish was his soul was absorb the whole creation within it. It is written in the Torah, Yavak and Israel should be told, Creator's works, the sages that have said with the future angels will Israel for the things they do not know themselves, and Israel attainments will be on that of the angels. Hence the angels took a part with the creation of the man, integrated with all the parts within him. However, once a man was created in sin, they became guilty before the Creator, for the angels Azza and Azil appeared before the Creator with the accusation that man whom you have created have sinned before you, for the worlds of the Creator cast them down for exalted holy degree, that thus they have begun to deceive the human beings. Of all the angels, only these two, Azza and Azil, came from before the Creator to complain of Adam's sin. They only knew that the man shall return to the Creator. However, the Azil and Azil also knew that the harm brought to them, the man's sin, who will not be created, because they would return. And moreover, they were perverted, and they not returned with the desire to the Creator at all. This is where they are only ones complaining about Adam's sin, because their perspective of the sin is incorrigible. The thing is, breaking a vessel and the atom sin constitutes same in the breaking and disappearance of the screen anti-egotistic willpower of an intention for the act. The Creator's sake, the difference of the breaking the vessel, breaking down of the screen of parts of it are called world by the atom sins, breaking disappearance of the screen of parts of it are called the soul. The difference between the two parts of law called world is external regarding the inner parts of it called the soul. The soul exists within the world and is sustained by it. The breaking has caused consequences necessary for the mixing of all the beyond and man, and because they transpire with both the spiritual world within the soul and impart with the properties beyond to the man, thus enable her to correct herself. The breaking of the world of the Nikidim, likening the break of the 8 Sephirots. 2, 3 has a Gemara over the Tefrat, 1, 3 Tefrat, Nephthah, Hoshin, Amal, Meshat, and 4 and Sephirat. Anyways, in each one of the turn consisting of 10 Sephirots, all 8 times 4 times 10, not doing Jews' math, and as a result of the mixing of all the parts of each part of the turn consists of 320 parts, all the 320 parts called the Nizat spark, where the egotistic will enjoy the receiving the Creator's light will signify their descent for the impure forces. In the spiritual realm, there are no locations department of the pure and impure. However, the purpose of conveying the information more vitally with the invasion of the reception of the lower property, the descendant reception for the more than spiritual purpose of the consent, the attainment with the equivalency of the form as the union, emergence of the new property, the separation, the appearance of the egotistic desire, spiritual object, the consider the descent into the impure force, although the forces exist within us and not vice versa, simply become the impairment. There is nothing surrounding us, for everything within the world desires both pure and impure. By studying Kabbalah, we attract the emanation of the light surrounded with our soul, the introducing the start with the tensor files, with the cultivation of the desired correction, this is attained with the degree of the spiritual world. We begin with the field of the spiritual light of the correspondence to each of the degree through the beginning of the discerned egotistic, altruistic parts in each of the property. By comparison to the light, we perceive our egotistic part of the evil to the extent that we see and we sense it, that we distance ourselves from it and refuse to use this desire. Conversely, we receive the altruistic desire for the good for youth by having no strength to use them, but some request receiving the necessary strength and accepting the light of the for the Creator's sake. They are ascending the higher degree whenever the process repeats itself. Turning the return or tashva receptance, repentance. To return of repentance means the man requesting for the correction and elevate to some 320 corruptive parts of the impure forces in which fell back in the world of man, which heaven were exalted prior to the Adam sin. However, the powerless to soar out of it and correct it to elevate 32 parts of man herself to exist with the 8 Sephiroth lights. Heaven's lights of this world for the level of the corruption beyond our capability to repair them. More Jewish math. By returning to the Creator while the 9 designated the first shots allowed to correct him, yet we were unable to correct the man from the Sephiroth with the lights required with the special power. There are 32 parts of man which are impossible, thus prohibited to correct the Lavu, Love, Heaven, or land bet even 32 stones. As I have repeatedly mentioned in the solution notation prohibition of the Kabbalah, the word is necessary to point out the futility of the trying. Just the one weakness limitation prohibited means impossible beyond one power is moreover the greater prohibition rather than the result of one person's faith and experience. One should admit the prohibited alludes with the word it is still found as one power into the Creator. Correct. Therefore, the gardens the Genesis Sephiroths of looking were concealed with the light does not shine. After all of it, the 10 Sephiroths shine, and the coupling need to be made with the man herself, woman herself, for the Lahavan, 32 stones, 32 uncorrected portion of the man herself with the supplement of the 10 lights. The long as the soul are missing complete from the marriage is impossible. However, they are complete analysis corruption or nitzin and completed with the law divine will be corrected itself. No effort of correction shall be required on its part. Since the prophets of a new heart shall also show, I give you you a new spirit with shall I put you within. I shall take away the stony heart of your flesh. And I shall give you a heart of flesh. The look of the vision will receive their light. Those that then perceive will receive their light. However, they will occur with the end of the correction before the end of the correction. The azwitz ha pew of the vision will not be able to receive the correction means, but the return there will be all correct of all the our ego desires, except for the very extent of man and woman. Therefore, Asa and Israel are real of the Azwar and Hama Pew of the vision that were destroyed during the breaking of the vessel, where they are near restored with the sin of the Adam, nearly restored before the sin of the Adam. However, the Adam sin destroyed them once more this time until the very end correction. Hence both the angels complained with the Creator about the light which would disappear because of the Adam. They saw that there was no hope that Adam would correct them through the return of the Creator. Moreover, they saw the return of the Adam lowered the degree even more, but the entire correction return limited to only 280 parts without any of the participation mentioned with the 32 before bidden. Vians refer to the constriction of the perception of the whose light within this light of these angels, just as God, just the soul of the Ahavian pew of the scene or their soul. Each raising praise designates cutting off the separation and purity of the Havan from food rapash, or 288 nitzazines, parts of the corrective of the father with the preventing Azrael, participation correction of lava, heaven lower than even more than when this is the two angels complain with the Creator tried to impede Adam from the returning. After all, the return lowers even further. The two parts refer to them. Therefore the Creator saw the complaints threatened to weaken the man's strength with return to him. He told them that Adam's sin did not spoil anything for them, although their greatness and holiness, and while their heaven and the no impure forces can cling to them, the still perfection is incomplete if they cannot exist in the world in a place of impure forces. The Creator told him that have you lost anything in the result of the Adam's sin, and you're not better him anyway, as your degree is merely a result of the place of your residence. And since the Creator would constitute his actions fell instantly from heaven to earth and into egoism, of course, not the physical earth. And since this Cain's principle is the same with the corporal life, as Kabbalah defines at the beginning of the sword of the analyze of the 32 parts, complete egoism called the daughters of men of the Torah says and the son of the granted angel will solve the daughters of the men, egotistic female, for they were fair and they saw the opportunity, egotistic reception of pleasure. Therefore they took them as wives, used the egotistic desires, whosoever that chose them as it shows precisely in their low state, for they did not want to separate the impurity of the 32 egotistic parts, preferring only with the 288. However, everything was wished, including love Havan. Hence, the transgressive female, or Lilith of the center, wished to draw the entire world toward the sun, toward sin, and flying into the last stage of egoism, for they did not wish the man to return in complete contradicts the root. What did the Creator do it? He put them in iron chains, but the Creator saw that the power of the return of the heaven and after the sin of the people would fail. The attempts to aspire with the Creator and the desire dominant for the egotistic angels forced the man with the two great, with the Rashi, with the great of the 11, the core of the Kabbalah, the biblical commoner, so that the entire Torah speaks of the world of man. However, everything is described in the motion of the time and the sequence of the man, similar with the Creator seemingly creates only to seem the results of his work. Therefore, all the root is too quiet is quite high. The Creator gave the root of the impure force the permission to act as he was seen of the Creator, seeing that the Creator governs all the force of the creation. This is rooted and called iron, as written that there was neither hammer nor axle nor any tool iron heard in this house while it was in building, for the iron of it is an impure force. And to the impure force claimed that the two angels bound them with an iron chain, the desire that dictates them. Such a state characterized being as mountains of the darkness for which they can no longer ascend to the end of the correction. As when they approach the chain with the axle rail of the rouse of the destiny, the awakening of the fourth part of the will to receive the man and woman with the greatest desire to receive the called wrath and rage. But they leap over the mountains in darkness, thinking that the Creator wishes to bring them justice upon them, and that when they are bound by iron chains, they cannot ascend to their roots to receive the light of wisdom. Their actions consider leaping and attempting and ascending the valley of the fall. As a result, they descend even deeper over the mountains of the darkness. They think that because of the leap, they attempt to perceive the light from their root. The Creator has become increasingly stricter with them, and they decide to stop leaping. However, even though they cannot give in anything that attempts to reach up the more leaps and fall, nonetheless, the two rulers receive the light of wisdom from them, as they give the strength to swim to see the light of sea of wisdom. For the impure forces were there before they had not only strength to bathe in. For the reason there is no action exalted in impure force, with everything limited to the thoughts of desires for such of the essence of impure forces, the desires that separate for the use of the Creator before the level of action, and action achieved the purity disappears. Therefore, the impure forces will never reach the level of any action. Hence, the work of the impure forces is called as Avada Zara, or alien work, idol workshop. As an alien, a spiritual work of the Creator's sake, performed according with the instruction of the desire for the impure forces within the service of the man. For the thoughts, the alien work for the alien master. The Creator the Creator punishes even for the mere thought of the desire. The prophet said, the house of Israel must understand that in their own heart, as the stages that it said that the man accused of the punishment, even the thoughts of desire of doubt, then their alien work transpired in their hearts exactly the same as the measure completed action. Hence, the leaps of Aviel and Aziel are sufficient to desire to receive the light of wisdom. And their desire to receive the light of wisdom, although reality in those they received nothing. 157. And those two creators appointed with the rulers that swim the great sea, fly from them the night with the Nema, the night to go to the Nema, the mothers of the witches from the first people that fell. They wished to approach the Mushi with the leaps about 6,000 prasadas, assumed with several different forms, though they may be deceived and enticed by her. After receiving them from the Azel, they can now be the greater. They can now merit the Nemaha, the first angels Azul and Azil erred. The marriage of the Azul and Azil Nama gave birth to the spirit of the witch of the world, the Torah and Kaza Azal, son of the gods and son of the greater. Yet how could such exalted angels stoop in the depraved actions with the Nema? Why did she give birth to the spirits of the witches and not people? The first thing of the world was the grave of the god by the male part, with not having nothing forth of the man, with man of the woman. And however the heavens however the lower world was created with the letter of Hay, and includes the man and woman of the light, the vision aspiring to the light of mercy, and the altruistic actions bestow beyond emerged such four stages of man's birth, even before the appearance of the first soul, man and woman. Nevertheless, heaven needed the light of wisdom for God. God needed the light of wisdom for heaven, for the creative to such in four stages of man's birth. Although God wishes to receive the light of wisdom from the light of mercy, which he already has, the marriage of the scene called in the upper world begots angels with the desire of light of wisdom, just like light from which it was burned. The human souls are from the marriage of the heaven called lower world. They are like heaven from where they were born, and desire only the light of wisdom. The moment the common soul of all the creatures, Adam, was born from the God of Asaval, or God. The heaven of Asaval and heaven of Asaval, exalted level of the upper world, clothed and like and they like the scene that they entered the letter of the yod of the name of God, and letter H and the name of the God. It was concealed with the posterior side of the aquarium of the Azium Hadapiu. Hence, Adam level was quite higher than heaven. The upper world ended up with the letter Yod. The letter of heaven was the angels that were born with from sight. There was heaven received the light of wisdom according to their desire. Light of wisdom are meant too. As a result, light of heaven contains the name of the greater God, supernal wisdom, and the perfection of the upper world become the band. The first restriction not to receive the light of wisdom does not apply to the letter of Yod. Cain and Abel were born from the state, and Cain was born was a God, and Abel was born from who? And man was born from God. Abel was born from what? Man herself, the woman herself, last letter of Hay, name of God name concealed that he, and then both only the letter Yod revealed. Hence, the contains supernal hokmah or wisdom. However, the whole wisdom received in the greater of the God, the heaven of the beyond of the Cain souls. By Cain's soul, the property of the Cain concealed what they laughed of, and letter of that, and concealed in Yod. Cain was much married with it, and received the light of wisdom in man and women, and concealed it in Abel's soul. It is by this that the slew Abel, for after the last few that was revealed by the band of the restriction to receive the light of wisdom was revealed, hence for the greater name of the greater God, but the spirit of them from both. And what, since they were referred to the garden of Eden, heaven ascends to the spirit of the signified Abel slain, and Cable's God, since it was referred to as God, felt in the impure forces of Arkah. Impure forces called Arkara. However, they fell into the impure forces. The spark of the light of wisdom still remained in the soul. The desires written with the daughters did not suffer from it greatly. Spark of the beyond still remained in them. Thus, we can understand that the Maya, one of the Cain's daughters, was most beautiful of all the women in the world, and sin inspired mainly in Cain's male part, and not in the female part, was described in the Talmud. Therefore, the creator of the cast of Azza and Azel in the world created with the letter Hay, and they sing Nama, and knew their two not existing desire appeared with them, the desire to perceive the light of wisdom for the essence of the desire of the light of mercy. Only the image of Na bore the new desire of the light of wisdom within them. And since there was no Hay, the last of the Hay which was born received the light of wisdom, the essence of the Nama, Nemea, the last reviewed one, for the originate of the Cain's God, there erred in her, thinking that she is able to receive the light of wisdom, and made coupling with her. Alright, the error is twofold. Despite the fact that they do not have the last the last letter from birth, since they place a determinant for the existing of the world, the last letter already governs that they are forbidden to receive the light of wisdom. For that they last of the God's name was absent with the name and instruction, when the fact that they concealed that hence spiritual witches were born from the coupling, or the marriage. From we can understand the written of the Talmud, the witches with the half angels, half people to regard with their fathers, and as and Israel angels to regard with of Cain's daughter. They are like people, but they should not give birth to people. They see from within her came from angels, not from people. The reason for the harm caused the life of the fact that it was born with the deprivative great possible distance from the Creator. Hence, there was impurity accompanied for them from bringing harm within the possibly can. Therefore, Zorah, the night of Cain's daughter of the Maya of the other witches were in the first people to fall. Indeed, after they received the strength of the angel, was the first an angel that depraved with the Nemaya, they could not continue to encourage depravity from her. The Zohar indicates precisely why they came at night, and for the power of the wisdom of the impure force of the rule over the darkness night, time of judgment, restriction, also the consequence, Ruth's name, that Azol and Azel will reside in the mountains of the darkness. However, the engaging of the depravity shall last 6,000 parasites, as she rose and she was witness and in preside below the body of the Adam's heaven, whose in each light was defined in 10,000. Hence, it was the body of the 6 prophets, or 60,000. But as soon as they think about the approach, she believed 60,000 prophets both, and immediately fell back down, unable to touch them. For there is no action in the upper impure forces, all transgressions, all errors, only with the thoughts and intentions. If there is still enough power to have the desire to entice the people in, and it does not reach the level, the impure actions only drawn into are the thoughts and the desires. However, the Creator punishes for such thoughts and desires. He desires action, but the prophets warn us lest the house of Israel may understand in their own heart and the pure forces assume the several different shapes, such as depravity of women, married women, and murder, other married woman murder, other things laid on the Lilith. These two rulers, soon of the entire world, they returned to their place as they rose Cain's sons with the spirit of evil desire to begotten the children. For the entire world, they bring harm to the man and all other thoughts, whenever they can, and lure him to the darkness for the night. After the man sinned, they return to the permanent place for the light impure forces. But they rose and sung with the Cain's defiled with the sins, with the impurities. More of the book of Zohar, besides the pushing of the sons of the Cain's to the impure forces, they soar in the world of our world to vow and compel the sons of the land to sin. Alright, 159. Heavens of the rule that are not like ours, but the land bears neither seed nor fruit of the power of the heaven, or doth the grain grow again once every several years. The brain within of them that they could not correct the Shema or Akara, the Shema perished with the supernal land with the Tevel, and where they would not be able to exist, no ruler over the nor cause they beings the sin because of the night. Hence they despaired and impure force of the place with the Shema, where they created the names greater God is mentioned within item 14. Our heavens receive the light of the essential with the birth of subsequent to the parts of heaven, which of the light of wisdom hence with our land, with receive the man and a man of heaven with the grain of the seed. However, the heavens of impure forces do not have light and to bear fruit and give the birth of due to the rule of impure forces that are there. Hence, unlike our land, impure forces cannot produce in the land no power to receive the growth and see this is the proper. He appears as only with the several ways. Here in the Zohar speaks of the two rules, Aphron and Castaman, which could not correct Shema and Akara. It must be that make them bear fruit. Therefore, the rulers are not allowed to hear and seduce them into our world to the sin where they are when they are here, and with the bringing it to our land to make it in their Shema and Shemaiah and Akara. Therefore, the Zohar says to disappear with the supernal land of a man of the land, for they are sought to bring harm in the power of the night, provoke people toward the sin of virtue of the night, and curse that hangs over the impure forces because of their rule there. Our heavens was created with a greater God, for the heavens received from heaven was corrected with God's property within the word. In the beginning of the Creator were what when connected with God, and hence our land was corrected with the supernal holiness and purity. Therefore, the two rulers are not allowed to rule here. Part 160. Hence, the existing of the Targum translation of the Hebrew Aramaic with the Zohar of the Targum, the holy angels will not think of this and said about them that would not harm us. This is the secret of the world, greater God, as well as already stated. The holy world cannot translate in the Targum. Everything but the greater world, everything but God was translated in the language of Targum and settled in item 149. God disappeared with both the impure forces and the greater forces, but the unstrainable with the constitute fuel connection with the greater God, and which must cause its sent light of wisdom, as in anyone sin and corrupt the letter of God, as Cain has done. They would fall to impure forces such as the holiness of the Targum, or would depart from them, and the body of the pure forces would depart from them. Alright, among all the sages and the nations of the world, there are none like you.